Good morning and welcome to Jasiri, where we don't just talk headlines, we dig into stories that matter. It's Tuesday and today we're continuing a conversation we cannot afford to let go of. The drug abuse crisis is deepening, especially among young Nigerians. Families are breaking, communities are struggling, and the silence is costing lives. But behind every statistic is a story and the possibility of a changed life. Our guest has worked in the drug abuse and rehabilitation space for over 30 years. But first,
we begin today on a disturbing note as a viral video has sparked national outrage. In the video, we see a woman believed to be the mother of the child she's holding and feeding a sachet of alcohol. Yes, a sachet liquor to her infant daughter. In the video, she tears open the sachet and pours it directly into the baby's mouth with the caption that reads, "Every night, just for her to sleep." Let's take a look at the video.
So this is a video that shows the supposed mother drinking and then feeding the alcohol, the sachet of alcohol to a child with the caption, "Every night just for her to sleep." And this video has made the rounds. Now, it wasn't the mother who posted it. It was ex-Chooks Eric E. And of course, we're going to get into what the police has asked them to do.
Yeah,
shortly.
the backlash was instant and everywhere. And now the Nigerian police force is involved. In a statement posted to their verified X handle, they described the video as distressing, confirmed that an investigation is underway, and stressed that exposing the child to alcohol is both illegal and dangerous. We have asked anyone with credible information, especially Chooks Eric E., who shared the clip, to come forward with any useful information. Ladies, I know we're ready to get into this, but, you know, I know that a lot of people have reacted to these videos. Let's take some of the reactions first before we get into it ourselves.
Yeah. If you're considering trying this act, I urge you to think carefully. It's important to prioritize your child's health and well-being over content creation. There are many safer ways to engage and find inspiration that won't put their health at risk. This is from Dokita Ladega. Joshua says, "I doubt this is alcohol, Sha. And if it's truly alcohol, she will tell you its content. They can charge her for misleading the public, though, which is provable, but if she didn't mention that it's just content at any point." The repairman says, "Everyone involved in this video should be arrested and prosecuted. This is child abuse and wrong." Handler says, "These sachet drinks, they damage adults' kidneys, let alone a child. Madam, you prefer she sleeps today and suffer chronic diseases tomorrow?" Just asking. Moreover, how did you come to know that these types of drinks make her sleep? Another angle. Edda says, "I hope she gets arrested as soon as possible. Her own mother gave her alcohol at that little age, and she managed to grow intact without any deformation or disabilities. Even pregnant women are advised against taking alcohol for the sake of the developing fetus. But this Pilox here, in a bid to avoid her own baby's cry, resorts to poisoning her gradually, killing her gently. In fact, this is attempted murder."
Honestly, sometimes I'm just, you know when something flabberwhelms you,
yes,
because I'm overgasted.
I'm serious.
Let's talk about the law for a moment. Under Section 33 of the Child Rights Act 2003, every child has the right to be protected from the use of narcotic drugs, psychotropic substances, and alcohol. Also, Section 30 of the same act states that no person shall give a child any intoxicating liquor, tobacco, or any harmful substance. Offenders can face fines, imprisonment, or both, depending on the severity of the case. So yes, this is more than just a viral video. This is a potential case of child endangerment and abuse, and it should be treated with the full force of the law. I don't even understand why a mother will do this, let alone film herself doing such a thing and post it online. There's another video of similar act that NAPTIC responded to. Ladies, this is a hard story, but we have to get in front of it. But let's just get into it. Let's get into it. You know.
I'm quite disturbed at relation between immorality, between, I would call this violence against children, and content. Someone made a valid point that she would come now and say it's content. The person said it may not be alcohol, but it vividly looks like it is. And another angle is, should we now say social media is driving people crazy, or social media is exposing the vices that already existed? Because I don't think that people will go this length just because of content. I think that this is what she's been doing.
Do you know what I agree with? Do you know that this big brother syndrome that a lot of people do not know? You know, you get comfortable with a camera in front of you, that you forget that you're acting.
Yes, thank you.
So you begin to live your life as normal.
You can only act for so long.
Yes, that's the experiment they carry out in all these reality shows, where you know there's a camera, but after some time you're oblivious of the camera. You begin to live the way you truly are. So most of the time when people blame it on social media, these are things that I've heard people do for their children. Some will tell you that they were born that way. I've heard of some people make, I don't know how true the story is, they say, oh, from some extraction of the country, from when their children are babies, they put alcohol in their bottles, in their food to, you know, enable them relax, and that's how they build their children's resilience for alcohol.
This is for me.
All sorts of things.
This is just plain abuse. There's no other way to label it. It's plain abuse, because that child is a minor. I don't even think the child is up to 1 year old.
At all.
And then is the comfortability, the ease with which you place a camera in front of you. And I think the craze of social media, the craze to trend on social media, makes people now want to use whatever means to blow or to trend. We're talking off camera, and Lola was mentioning that, you know, there's a person who likes to use her child for content.
Yes, she makes
and putting
frontals, and she makes the hair for a child that is just maybe if the child is older than, it can't be older than 1 year. You will see how the child sits down for long, because there's nothing the child can do, even if he finds it uncomfortable. What will you do from your mother?
Unfortunately, we don't have, so I mean, I'm tilting towards, you know, the conversation of, is it social services it's called? Where
welfare social workers.
They take a child from you if they see that you're incapable or incapacitated to take care of that child. But is it Nigeria where our prison services are clogged? Everything is not working right. Where do you want to put the child? Because honestly, these parents should be stripped of every responsibility.
Yeah, but you see, we always have that factor going for us that, oh, you know, it's just a child. She didn't know. She didn't. There's always community coming together to beg for someone. And we carry that behavior with us as we grow. Whether we like it or not, there's abuse of social media. Social media is a wild street these days. And if there are no regulations to clamp down and regulate these things, a lot of people are using just tell somebody that your child is fine. They use their child to trend. And they use their child for videos.
What I see on this table that
there's
I
one
am
that
totally
really trends that they say,
I am so
fame I'm well, fame I'm, you know, things like that. We look at it, oh, we laugh about it, but whether we like it or not, these people are getting views. They're probably being paid for the views, and meaning that we are encouraging them. How do you go on live digital whatever? You go on the live digital space and you show that you're feeding alcohol. I don't care what. You cannot negate what is in that sachet. Everybody knows what is in that sachet. Forget the brand, but in that sachet you say, and then you caption it just for her to go to sleep. Suppose she goes to sleep and doesn't wake up. Suppose she goes to sleep and develops complications while asleep. So we don't think.
I've always said that I'm an advocate for social media regulation. A lot of people have just taken laws into that. They no longer know the lines. The lines between right and wrong is totally blurred. And now, because nobody is holding anybody, she could actually tell us, oh, she's just simulating. This is not. But we know what she is intending for us to believe. And that is what some people would see. And because on the streets of social media, people are doctors now who have no degree. People are mental health counselors, things that they have no knowledge of. Somebody will say, I saw a woman doing this, I think it helps. And that is how you might start a very harmful trend. Whether this person likes it or not, this is an endangerment of the child. And it is blatantly against our law. You see the section of the law that was read. That is the law. And if they catch this woman, she must face the full brunt of the law. And not just face it in isolation. We need it. We need people to know that she was found and she was prosecuted and she is accounting. she's suffering the consequence of what she did.
Maybe also social media platforms also should have, but I don't know. The thing
So the thing is,
on their,
how do you regulate? Imagine saying, okay, children should not have a social media account, but then the parents will now open an account in the name of I'm my mother's daughter, then start posting content about the children. So how do you regulate such? You see this craze for content, and to be honest, I've never been in support of it. I know that some people do it, and you won't blame people. I mean, if I see a cute child on social media, it's cute as long as there's nothing. You know, it's cute, but it's cute until it's not, because when you start to, I saw a video some time ago, I think on TikTok, a young boy was like, "Mom, I'm hungry." And the guy, and I think maybe he has a way he reacts when he's hungry, and the mom picks up the phone and is making a video. It's like, "Are you making a video of me again? I said I'm hungry." Just because she wants to post on social media, she's trying to, and people are like, drop that phone and give the child food.
And you know, when you report it on some social media platforms, they tell you they don't see anything wrong with it.
Of course.
Tolu said it here that, you know, on the streets of TikTok, for example, if you see the terms and conditions and the requirements to open a TikTok account, a 12-year-old can open a TikTok account and it's normal. And, you know, they know it's like the wild, wild west.
It's the wild, wild west.
Anybody
and I say that these days, everybody needs to be cautious. You have to draw a line for your own self, what you cannot post. Now that we're having children content on social media, just like Blessing said, sometimes it's cute when you see it for the first time. Then after some time, it becomes problematic for me because these children are taught to play, to act now for the camera. So that means they are not just living their lives normally. They know that the camera is before them. So you're teaching your children pretense. How to make believe. Have imaginary friends. Do things that when they are by themselves, they will need some kind of external validation to make them who they are. And people forget that childhood stars, even those that are in the media space, they struggle in adulthood.
They do.
They struggle. A lot of them don't, you know, looking at the cute eyes of a child. I saw just a picture of Justin Bieber recently.
Oh, la, la.
Honestly, I cannot lie. When I saw him when he was still that little baby boy, sweet, and I saw him now as an adult. Sometimes the transition is not possible.
No.
To just go from child actor or a celeb, a child celebrity, to an adult celeb, it might not just work. And of course, you fall into depression, and all the negative vices of life will catch you.
All right, guys, this is a conversation that must be had, and we are having, and we will continue to have here on Jasiri. When we come back from this break that we're going to take, the fight against drug abuse in Nigeria takes center stage once again. We'll be joined by Dr. Dokun Adedeji, CEO, Compassionate Care Recovery Initiative. Dr. Adedeji is back to help us unpack the roots of the crisis, the real cost to families and society, and what meaningful intervention really looks like. Stay with us. Jasiri continues after this.
Back to the show. Well, join the conversation on social media. We are at News Central TV. Now, we recently had a conversation on the drug abuse epidemic that is unfortunately hitting communities across Nigeria hard. But one show wasn't going to be enough. So here we are again today. It's one of the quietest epidemics in our country, yet its impact, it's devastating and it's growing. From the streets of Lagos to rural communities in the north, drug abuse in Nigeria has become a national crisis. Young people are losing their futures to substances like codeine, like tramadol, like crystal meth, and families are left picking up the pieces. But behind every addiction is a deeper story of trauma, of neglect, of failed systems. So what's fueling this crisis? Who is being left behind? And what will it truly take to turn the tide? Well, this isn't just a health issue, it's a national one. So joining us once again is Dr. Dokun Adedeji, the CEO of Compassionate Care Recovery Initiative, and he has worked in this space for over 30 years. He's also a member of the Special Purpose Committee of the CCEO of the NDLA, which is an advisory body. Dr. Adedeji, you're welcome. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Adedeji, for joining us again. Drug abuse is no longer a hidden problem. It is loud. It's a growing crisis. And Lagos is feeling the heat, undoubtedly. And young people caught in the grip of addiction to families torn apart by the impact. The signs are everywhere. It touched everybody, somewhere. We went to the streets to hear directly from Nigerians. How deep is the drug problem? What's driving it? And what do they need to believe that can truly make a difference? This is Jasiri on the Streets. We'll be back.
I'm a pharmacist, so yes, I'll go for the fact that drug abuse is a really big menace in Nigeria, because it's one of the reasons why I think it cripples the mindset of a lot of people, and when they actually get to take like drugs, it's like weakens and lessens their productivity and creativity.
Well, I feel it's depression, inability to get some funds, not financially stable, and school dropout and all that. So people likely get into drug abuse, and they feel depressed. Because I have a friend of mine that smokes most times, he hasn't gotten admission, and due to poverty and all that. So I just feel that's majorly the reason why they just get into drug abuse and all that.
I used to know of a guy. We used to play ball together on the street. Recently, I saw him walking on the street, and when I asked some questions about him, I got to know that he was into drugs, and it's really saddening, kind of.
Look at the music videos that are actually coming out nowadays. They are terrible. Musical artists nowadays are actually like releasing the propaganda of like, if you use drugs, you are going to this. How am I going to put it? It's part of the fame.
Yeah, at times when I pass through some streets, I see some young people smoking, drinking, and taking marijuana. In fact, it's something that is not really good at all, because it's affecting their health as long as creating nuisance around.
Drug abuse is a personal thing. If you say music and other social media influence drug abuse, I believe that personally, as a human being, I have to check in with myself. What's my goals? What's my achievements? Why am I taking these drugs? What is it meant for?
This is a bad habit from the older ones, influencing the younger ones. I was once somewhere in an environment and I saw some children coming back from school, and they sat down somewhere, and actually the older ones who were on these drugs were handing them over to them.
I think in Nigeria and whole, for me, I feel we have issues with parenting. There's a whole lot of issues with parenting, kind of. Like, mainly children actually don't, like, growing up, most of us lack some certain love and caring and even the basic knowledge to actually help us thrive in the society.
I think I'll just tell them that drug abuse is really, really terrible, all right? But I will not just say it, I will actually just show them. Because right now, people believe in, what they actually see. But if you tell them, they will not believe. But if you get to show them, they'll definitely get to believe. And the way you actually do that is creating an example, all right? When you get to maybe personally work in a particular experiment, and maybe before and after a particular person that used drug before, and the person now sees how good that person's life is, the person definitely want to change.
Yes, the government is doing enough, is really pushing it to a large extent, but we, the people, need to also help to combat it.
Parents and schools, particularly the parents, they need to talk more to their children, advise them on the dangers of smoking and drinking and, abusing all these drugs. And schools need to play their important role by, educating their students and, leading them in the right path.
In listening to what Nigerians have to say about drug abuse and its use, Dr. Dediji, are you surprised?
No, I'm not. I'm even petrified by the latest things that we're hearing officially. The African Union people came to visit General Marwa, and then they were giving statistics that by 2030, there'll be a global increase of 10 to 11% of substance use. Well, in Africa, it's going to be 40%. And already with what we have, honestly, I've advocated, I've written an article about this, that I think the government should declare an emergency on substance use. If Sierra Leone can do it, Sierra Leone has a positive rate of 6.1, and less than 10 million people in the country. Madam Bio saw the tragedy and he declared an emergency. You see, in declaring an emergency, then there must be structures and conscious efforts to do something. We're not putting enough emphasis from top level. NDLA, you see, people see NDLA, the thing to be done, one gentleman said it's collective. If we all don't own it as a responsibility individually, we're not going to get resolved because it's overwhelming. Is NDLA going to be in every school, on every street, every workplace? No, they can't be. So the thing to do is the people must see it before it becomes a personal experience. And then we can all get towards working on it. That's the answer.
All right, Doc. There was something we touched on briefly when you were here last, and that is how marijuana was an issue. Okay, so while it is illegal here, there seems to be like a sentiment that it's harmless and there's nothing to be worried about for those who use it. Okay, that's illicitly, but that may not be the case. Okay, so with marijuana, let's start from there. It's known to be a gateway drug, yes? And is it only a gateway drug, or it's the way, the truth, and the life? Like I always like to say it here. But what warning would you give to people who use marijuana, albeit illegally, illicitly?
You see, there's something that, I mean, first of all, it's not really a gateway drug. Cigarette, alcohol are the gateway into marijuana. Marijuana is like a starter for you to get into something higher and then something more dangerous. You see, one thing that I like young people to know is this: they need to read more. And they need to get conversant with the facts, not the myth. What am I saying? In 2007, I think it was Colorado in America that first legalized the use of marijuana recreationally. But you know, they never told us the fact a year after what they found. They found that the emergency rooms were now filled up with people with psychotic presentation, secondary to the use of marijuana. But that did not flourish as a news item. So people say, oh, it's not. But another clear example to tell you the non-harmless nature is that Thailand, 3 years ago, unbanned marijuana. A week, just last week, they just banned it because they just found out that it's not as harmless as people think. You see, one thing that I want people to understand about marijuana is this. When people take marijuana, one or two things can happen. There can be an immediate effect, which is acute. You see it, and then people can go, and then you say, oh, the guy has gone bonkers. That's one. The other one, it can be silent. The person just feels a bit, and he likes it. And he continues to take it without a malicious, should I say, overt influence. But what they then find out, in years after, they begin to have lack of motivation, they're demotivated, they're careless, they begin to forget things, their cognitive dissonance is impaired. I mean, there's cognitive use. Yes. You see, and it's worse in teenagers because their brains are not be fully formed when they start about 13. So you see these things much earlier than you see in adults who be using it. Look, I mean, one of the things that Marwa said is this: under him, Marwa will never be banned. I had a governor who was my friend, we were classmates, who was championing, and I called him and I said, look, you can. In a country where you cannot control the use of over-the-counter drugs, how do you want to manage marijuana?
Because people even grow marijuana.
People do.
In the backyard.
Oh, people do. But you see, a time in England also, they thought it was a Class A, then they took it a Class C. They brought it back. So we must learn from this. It must have been something happening to them that they found. But you see, people are not quick to raise these issues. They raise, oh, it makes you feel sleep, it reduces pain. Medically,
relaxes you. I hear that
for instance, in medicine, they found that if you use a derivative of marijuana, it can treat infantile epilepsy. But they then found that it's not every case of infantile epilepsy that is taken care of. So then it must be selective use even in medical cases. So, but these are things, I think with what you guys are doing here, maybe a few others, and begin to raise awareness and send light on this. People begin to wake up. If there's no accurate awareness, we're going to run into trouble.
Okay.
Claire.
I like that you even brought up the issue of awareness, because you also mentioned that it would be nice for the younger people to read more. But what we found out is that people are more inclined to what is put in front of them. A child wants to be a doctor because they've seen people be doctors. So I think that it is primarily the responsibility of the society and the education system, and I'm getting there because it looks like we have an ostrich approach to things like this. We bury our head in the sand and pretend like nothing is happening. We are delusional, you know, we are delulu about it in this part of the world, but it's happening, it's glaring in front of us. So my question circles around the curriculum in especially Nigeria, in Africa. When it comes to awareness, do you think that there is enough awareness? Because you have to teach them first about the dangers of it before they go read up on it on their own. So what can be done in terms of awareness? How can we create awareness, especially in the curriculum? The same way we've been advocating for sexual and reproductive health awareness, we should also be advocating for this kind of awareness. So whose responsibility is it to, you know, infuse this into the education system for the children? Because you said something which is very scary. It's now trickling down into primary schools.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You know, thank you, Blessing. One thing is this. One thing that is very lacking in our country is fundamental reasoning. We do not sit down to understand the dynamics of things before we knee-jerk response. In medicine, we call it knee-jerk response. Yeah. Oh, well, let's just quickly do something. That's not the way. Can we sit down? What are the issues involved here? How do we tackle it? Yeah, curriculum, I understand. But if we're not careful, we'll be introducing these kids to drugs too early.
While teaching them.
While teaching them.
Yes.
You see, because, I mean, I remember when we used to go out to go and talk to schools and young people would talk about drugs, then we found that we begin to fan the intention to go and look for it.
Because you're curious.
They're curious. And then they say, okay. And then when you then bring somebody who had used it before, who is no more, they say, if that person can stop.
Yes, that means.
Oh, if I do it small, I'll be okay. You know, so a lot of care, a lot of understanding must be. I agree that must be, but at what level? And how do we introduce it? You see, one thing that I found, that apart from literature, the things that are very important is audiovisual, what people see. And because that's also what our artists, what the entertainment world has been using to captivate these children. Because when they see them, they say, oh, this guy is so successful, why can't I? But you know what I tell them? When they say to me, when I talk, I say, I understand. But tell me, how many years do they stay for in limelight?
True.
So if you show them that, look, they can reign for 2-3 years with all this, after 3 years, what happens? Then they begin to clean the shoes, they begin to drive Uber and all that. Would that be the life you want for yourself? You know, the thing is, one thing that I also like that Jeremiah NDL is doing is keying up with MTN. They then started something plugged in. How to train the teachers, how to bring it gradually to classroom, and then for them to send to school. Tomorrow they'll be on that program by MTN. I'll be on it. And then so that it takes understanding. You know, if organizations like MTN, all these, don't come together and say, let us fight this, they'll be shocked that by the time in 5 years, most of their staff will be on drugs.
I mean, look at the, did you see the statistics? 25% of drug users are women.
Oh, absolutely, I know.
Doc, how is
I
that?
can tell you that
I've been questioning in my head since.
I'm telling you that it's likely to even be worse.
Why women? Okay, so what's the, I mean, can you shed more
the
light?
link?
Like,
You
I
know,
don't do drugs. So,
you know, women belong to the society.
yes,
They have boyfriends.
Yeah.
They gather in parties.
it's by association.
Yes, so it's by association. And also by all this media stuff. You know, all this, you know, I was talking with my daughter who mentioned an actor had been using drugs when he was 13, associated with so-so person that's just been prosecuted. They read about this and they see these things.
Yeah.
So that is the, so girls too are human beings. To have a boyfriend who takes, for you to belong in a class of them, you must take.
Yeah.
So it becomes fashionable. It becomes something that you want to belong. And until somebody mentioned when you are doing your street whatever, there's nothing so important as the family setting. It's the primary unit of the society. And I think from what you said about awareness, how many parents know about these things? Even when they know, they don't care. You know, the thing they forget is this. Many people think affluence is beautiful. And then you get housemaid, you get driver, you get cooks.
And no time for the
Those
children.
are dangerous. Those are even dangerous agents for your kids. Because they don't have to go out to get it. Those people will bring it.
But,
So you then, you said something.
yeah.
I said to people, when people are courting, boy, girl, and they say they want to marry, what are the driving forces? There's no thoughtfulness about relationships.
About relationships. You know,
It's about esoteric thing. I like your hair, I like your mom,
you know, Dr. Adedeji, I'm looking at it. It's a crisis that is hiding in plain sight. Everybody points, but nobody believes the hands are pointing at them. And it's stealing a generation from us. But it's not just young people who are indulging in these drugs. This issue cuts across all ages, socioeconomic statuses, educational backgrounds. Across Nigeria, from the bustle of cities to the quiet of villages, drug abuse is tightening its grip on everybody around these places. Substances once felt distance are now dangerously close. You know, before you would say, oh, before you would find a white substance, you'd have to go through, you know, so many things. But now, it's people are using it to numb pain, finding escape, trying to survive, and, you know, never able to touch. They're just in touch, you know, out of time. It presents this illusion to you that feels as if you're living in a different world. That hallucinogenic effect that makes you feel as if everything is all right, everything is chill.
And so they want to stay there.
And you know, is it these esoteric needs that these children need to meet? These grandiose ideas in their head that they need to tame? Are these the things that is really fueling the continuous use of this?
You know, one thing I found out with young people is diverse reasons, plethora of reasons. But you touched on something. There's always a vacuum in the life of somebody who uses drugs. It is that vacuum we must look for. What is it? Is it psychological? Is it medical? Is it whatever? And then if we don't do, you see, it's the same thing in recovery. If you want to help someone who's using drugs, you need to understand the fundamentals of how he got into drugs. So when you do that, if you take him into rehab, he doesn't have opportunity of using. And then you then deal with the pillars holding up the addiction. If you remove the pillars and give him coping skills, and then he comes back, you know, in recovery there is a tripod. The person, the center where the rehabilitation takes place, and then the society and family. If all those things are together and this is not, he will relapse. Because he goes back to what precipitated the problem. So it's a complete understanding of the human person. So when, and to be honest with you, there's truly a high. But I always say to people, it's perceptual. It is not real.
It's not real.
In the sense that if I give the four of us marijuana, we're going to have different reactions. But if I give you paracetamol, we will have the same reaction of less pain. So when you don't have the continuity of same reaction in something, is illusional. And also in the brain, there's a center that is hormone dependent, like dopamine. Dopamine mediates, is a hormone of pleasure. So when you do something, no matter what you do, it doesn't have to be drugs, but anything that gives you pleasure is registered. And so anytime you see it or you hear it, the same sensation is elicited. So that's what happens. But you know the danger with drugs, if you take it and you get this high, next time you won't get the same high.
So you need more.
But then you then say, you then say, maybe I need to add more. Even in adding more, it still does not approximate. And then you say, maybe I need to try combination. And so that's how it goes. And then they get sucked in until they begin to look for the things to give them what they had. Yeah, you know what I say is, any user is a victim. Nobody wakes up to say, I want to use drugs. But something lures them and something keeps them there. I've seen people who try once and they say, heck, they told me it will make me, and it didn't. And it didn't. And he says, sorry, I won't touch it again. But somebody says, oh my God, my fears just disappeared. The pains disappear.
Yeah, but don't they know that it is a temporary
It's just illusion.
So for me, I'm like, when you were talking about vacuum, as usual, I just drifted off and I said, everyone has a vacuum at some point. But it doesn't then mean that because you have a vacuum, you must gravitate to this. So does it now boil down to strength of just your strength of, strength of the individual, strength of character?
No, not necessarily so. I want to disabuse people's mind that it's about lack of self-will, lack of character. You see, the thing is, we have vacuums, but there is support to help you overcome your vacuum. If the support is lacking, like somebody who just lost his dad, everyone say you should get over it. It's not easy to get over grief. So it's not just about saying get over it. I will show enough love, enough empathy, not sympathy. And then the person sees and he begins to understand and begin to get him to appreciate that look. And give him an example, people who've had such but gotten out of it. But when everybody comes the first week and greets you, and they go away, what happens?
You're back.
Then you are back.
And it's also like a situation of idleness. If you're constantly idle, it's not about your self-will.
It isn't.
You now start looking
for something to fill in your time.
Absolutely.
Because if you're busy, then you probably won't have time.
But I'm worried about like our young people, like in tertiary institutions, especially all these closed tertiary school, closed school, that now they do random drug tests. They, in fact, they
private schools.
Yes, in private tertiary institutions.
Particularly Christian universities.
Yes, Christian universities, and many of those things are so prevalent in those spaces, and they actually like rusticate students. Is that a deterrent? Because sometimes, do you know these students, the way they perceive even punishment? Do you know I've heard some of them say like, they rusticated in their boss.
So they
see it like rite of passage, like something to be emulated. What's happening in those circles? Would you not say that the school that is trying to expel students that are into drug addiction, are they not doing these students some kind of good?
You know, it comes to what we're discussing about understanding. In this country, we're like ostriches. The man says, I tested students, they tested, send them away. But send them where?
Exactly.
That's the challenge they must have. When I went to Ife, they said learning and culture. When you go to university, they're supposed to be locus parentis. I'm not saying take care of me. But the thing is, you give guardianship. These kids, I mean, our society sends young boys to schools these days, so they can't be like those who are mature to go to school. So when they err, why don't you find an opportunity of helping them first? If they then slip back, you can take a decision. I mean, you can't on one spot. Look, I've said it, the fact that somebody tests positive does not mean he's a continuous user. It could be an occasional user, experimental, accidental user.
Is it not possible that somebody just stays in a room where people are just maybe abusing marijuana
and then decides to try it out?
He has, can that flow into
No, not really. Maybe through
his nostrils. You can't test positive from that.
You have to have used.
All right, so let's talk about, sorry Doc, let's talk about, because I know this conversation, before you know it, time is running past us. I want to talk about maybe a conversation on a national policy. Take a look at what's happening on social media. Look at what we started the show with, a woman giving sachet alcoholic drink to her child. Are we glorifying the use of social media on the use of drugs, on the abuse of drugs on social media? That's one. And take a look at the entertainment industry as well. Everybody feels that, because, for you to be a boss, or for you to be a talent, or for you to be well known in entertainment, that for you to be woke, all those slangs, you must be on a certain level. Is this extreme, or it is just what we need? Do we need to begin to clamp down on the glorification of drug abuse on social media? Because everyone seems to be on social media. When you were saying, our young children, or young teenagers, young adults need to read more, I kind of looked at you with side eye. You read more in my head, like when everybody's there on their phones, on their gadgets, social media consumption.
My problem is we don't learn from the mistakes of other people. Australia learned the hard way. They're not putting a check on social media. Not a check of don't do this, but I mean, you begin to sit, again, as I said, understanding the challenges. That's the only way you can deal with it. South Korea, they put some kind of limitations. The age of use, what can you allow the children to get onto? But here, everything is just laissez-faire. We don't check. I'm not saying we should check, but we must understand these things and how to deal with it. I mean, you said some kids will see social media, but who is in charge of all these entertainment things? Is it NBC? I don't know whether it's I don't know.
Nigerian Broadcast Corporation.
Yes, I mean, when they see this video, what do they do? Why do they allow it? The songs and all those, why do they allow it? And then they clamp up on stations who do something, talk politics.
It's out there.
So that the thing is, do they themselves even understand? Do they know? You see, many times in our country, I think we put these round hole square pegs and all the rest of the thing. People just come maybe by virtue of relationship and they put them. No understanding. Do you know why Marwa is doing very well? Check anywhere he's done something. He sits down to think. When he was in Lagos, went anywhere when he was governor of Borno. Go and check his story. Before he became chairman of NDLA, he was presidential. He was a presidential PASIDA. He was chairman of PASIDA. He went around the country. He spoke to every stakeholder in this business of substance. So he sat down and drew up. He knew where he was going. How many people get into position in this country have any roadmap?
So it's I mean, it's a cascade then. It's a ripple effect. It triggers
is.
from, I don't know, sometimes it can be overwhelming because you're looking at a way out and you want to hold on to some kind of formula that if we implement this formula, it's going to work. But it seems like we're floating.
But can I tell you why? It's the same thing about, do we have a holistic impression of what is happening? You know what people will begin to do now is run after drugs. What about the undergirding things? What push people? What about parental? What about the moral status of our country? What about the value system? So if you don't look at them in those fundamental things, I mean, you see today a 19-year-old says he's just bought a car.
And that's a normal.
That's a normal.
That's where you see the most comments.
And
God did.
like,
So we're
God
talking about it in the makeup studio.
Yeah,
God did.
Honestly,
So my question is, again, talking about societal responsibilities, right? Unfortunately, we have played the role of enablers, you know, in a lot of situations. But when it comes to drug abuse, for families and friends, instead of waiting to pick up after those who now fall victim, what are the signs to look out for, whether or not you're suspicious? What are those little signs to look out for? And then for those who become addicts, how far have you seen a person go to hide their addiction from family and friends? Because that's another thing, like someone can be so good at hiding it that you won't even see the signs.
I've seen all kinds of spectrum of what you said. You see, the thing for parents, you know, I don't know how I can talk to parents more than to be close to their children. The moment you see any aberrant behavior, not necessarily about drugs, let your antenna go up. But a child that you don't know when it changes. A child that you can't, I mean, a woman came from Calabar many years ago, and she brought her son to me, 17, and as they were coming, I could see anger on the face of the boy. So as they sat down, the woman said, "Doctor, they said you come and see because of this man." The boy got up and said, "Who is your son? Is it now that you know that I'm your son? Is it now?"
In front of him?
In front of me, in front of the mom. He said, "Where have you been?" He said, "You are a doctor. You work all the time. And my father is a professor. What time have you guys had for me?" I mean, so I had to pacify him, tell him that that's not the way to go. Look at your own life. You know, so that's about parents. So what are the things to look out for when you see your child begin to keep late nights, and then his friends are changing all the time, his eyes are red, nose dripping, eyes dripping, and then his dressing is funny, and then begins to act in some ways, sometimes getting very verbally abusive or even physically abusive, dropping, his grades are dropping. Those are some of the signs we should begin to, and then when that happens, something must, it may not be drug, but
just
something.
Just parents to pay attention.
Oh, attention.
Just pay attention.
Parents need to be parents.
No matter how busy you are. We need to go on a quick break. To parents, pay attention. When we come back, we'll be on the home stretch of this discussion about drug abuse and the menace it is in our society. Please do stay with us.
It has been a very interesting and eye-opening conversation. With drug abuse being labeled an epidemic by many, we must look at solutions. We've talked about teaching children young, but what happens if one unfortunately becomes an addict? If someone listening suspects their sibling, their friend, or their partner might be using drugs, what's the first step, doctor? Do we confront them? Do we do an intervention? Do we gather everybody and say, okay, we need to talk to you? What do we do?
Never confrontational. Never. The thing to do is, you'll be shaking. I mean, there is no doubt about it, but you need to cool down. Because I'm telling you, the child will also watch out. The moment you confront it, will deny it, and there's no way you can get the truth anymore. So the thing is to sit down. Hey, Wale, something bothers me. I begin to see what is happening to you. what exactly is going on. If you've been friends before, been talking before, he might tell you. But if you have not been talking, say, Daddy, what is it? Is it because this? And then he puts it in your face, and then you quickly keep going. So it starts from getting to know your kids, spending time with them, appreciating them. You know, one thing is parents, the only time we care is when we want to upbraid them for doing wrong. Well, how many times do we say, well done, look at this, it's a sitting room, you must have done, I'm so proud of you. How many times do we tell them we love them? We don't.
Doctor, we try. You know, when I have 3 sons, and I do my best to have conversations with them. And I'm finding out that these children are so strong. The things that they are open to and exposed to, even when they tell you, Doctor, maybe because this is your line of work, I'll go inside the toilet and do like this. Oh, Jesus, help me. Because they know how to hide so many things.
Okay, what if they didn't tell you?
You see, that
You know, you ask the question, say, look, I've seen people, there was a girl that was brought to me, she started taking alcohol at 12. And the parents didn't know until the auntie in the church came to them and said, this is what the daughter said at 17.
Do you know that the alcohol is not even pleasant to it? It's not nice.
It's peppery. No,
it depends on why you take it. Then you give a different meaning to the pepperiness. Because if the girl said to me that my mother shouts too much, she never listens. So anytime she shouts, I take alcohol to feel cool. So the boy that she met online said, oh, that's not strong enough. And introduced her to cocaine. And she started taking cocaine at 13. And yet the parents never knew, and he was a member of the church choir.
Anyway, doctor, because time is running off, we need to move towards solutions.
Yeah, solution.
You know, what does treatment and recovery look like? I've had a lot of people where people say they've been in and out of rehab. You know, how bad does it get? Or is it even possible for somebody to actually be rehabilitated? Because some will tell you they are just in remission for a couple of, rehabilitated for a couple of years. Once this triggers them, they're back where they are. Is true recovery
No, absolutely. I've seen it. So I'm positive about it. For the people that have managed today, some of them are doctors, some of them are lawyers, in different positions. Some of them are senior pastors. So I know it's possible. The thing to do is, how much of understanding do we have? You know, I said to you about recovery is a tripod. This person is determined to say, I want to stop. That's a good sign. And then he goes to a good center. This is another thing we need to begin to look at in Nigeria. How many rehabilitation centers actually do rehabilitation? Not just treatment of symptoms. And so if the center is also, because in some centers, you can still get the drug. And then if the family also is not there, okay, we send you to rehab, and when you come out, you should be okay now. That's not it. Everyone must work together. And I tell you, so let people not be disappointed. You know, there are 5 steps to addiction. Each of those steps can be stopped if we are attentive, if we care, if we quickly do something. So there are good centers. NDLA started something. There is a toll-free number, 0800 10 20 30 40. You can call it if you're anywhere and say, look, I have you don't have to mention your name, and they have every language. So they speak to you, they can do psychotherapy, or they can refer you, or they can, I mean, there are ways people can get off it. So there's a room, but it starts from prevention.
So how about then successful reintegration into society? And you know, society, we have a tendency to silently judge. How can society
silently?
No, when I say silently, you know how silently they look you with eye or
they know with this one they do drugs.
Are you not the drug daddy's son of this? You want to walk here?
And they say sorry or
no. Can I tell you something? When, I mean, thank God for a little experience. So we started infusing into our program a parents forum. So we bring them in. This is what your kid have said about you, the thing they do. Then they also then look in the mirror of their own life and say, hey, see what I've done. We all work together. And then we then tell the people graduating, we say, let me tell you, don't think you get back when everybody will carry you and take you to a party, or you get back to work, everybody will be finding you. No. Be prepared for looks. Well, then say to them, that was me yesterday. This is who I am today. And when they watch you for about a month, they watch you for a while, they say, I mean, people have gone back to work. The bank manager came to us, he's working, he's back. I mean, pilot and all the rest. So
what's the weirdest people that have come to you? Like, most unusual, I don't want to say weirdest, but
doctors,
pastors?
Architects,
Really?
lawyers.
Doctor? Is that
yes, pastors.
Dr. Adedeji, doesn't that feel weird? A doctor, an addict.
Look, today there are a lot of nurses and doctors using stuff.
Funny enough, they don't know about the exposure. It's just like media practitioners. You say that media people are supposed to expose the menace in the society, but we are exposed to the most menace because we're seeing things. So I think that's the same thing with doctors. They're exposed to too many things and they want to just, divert attention.
People forget also that doctors are human beings.
Exactly.
They have
the
pressure.
same way with pastors.
Exactly.
Because most of these things come from mental agitation. And you don't know what the person is going through as well. And then he tries it, and that's it.
Okay.
I mean, so there's no sector of the environment that is not affected. No.
Dr. Doku, we have to let you, in fact, we have to leave the studio. Thank you so much. It's been enlightening speaking to you. Thank you for sharing your experience and expertise. Guys, we have had Dr. Doku Adedeji with us this morning on Jasiri, and it's clear from today's conversation and from the voices on the streets that drug abuse in Nigeria is not a distant problem. It's here, it's real, and it's affecting lives across every age, every background, and every region. But what's also clear is that this crisis isn't just about drugs. It's about pain. It's about pressure, the lack of support, and systems that are failing way too many people. Tackling it will take more than awareness campaigns and police raids. It will take honest conversations in our homes, clear messaging in our schools, firm action from government, and compassion in our communities. So this fight belongs to all of us, whether we like it or not. While the problem is urgent, the solutions are possible if we stop looking away. All right, tomorrow is Friday. We've got some hot topics lined up for you. We'll see you then. Namaste.
Tomorrow is Friday?
No.